While we work at Microsoft, this podcast is independent of Microsoft and implies no warranty or guarantee of the products or services. We will not be sharing anything confidential, and we do not represent the opinion of Microsoft in any way. We are just two passionate guys that love what we do implementing Microsoft devices and services.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome to the Device Pros podcast. I'm Frank Pinto, and my co-host is Alfred Ojukwu. This show is all about our experience as consultants implementing Microsoft solutions around the world. If you're already an IT pro or you're trying to get started, you've come to the right place. We will discuss tech success and failure in the show, resources, tips, tricks, and everything in between. You can find us at www.thedevicepros.com, on Twitter and Facebook as The Device Pros. Hold on to your surfaces, the episode is about to begin. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Frank Pinto, and I'm joined by my my co-host, Alfred Ojukwu.
I guess you're getting ready. Either we're getting ready for the holidays, with Santa Claus.
Let's just go with that. It's a family show. Yes, it's ho ho ho.
Or you just really don't like me anymore.
We're just going ho 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 all the way home.
There we go. I like that version better. Yep. Hi, this is Alfred. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. So, speaking of Christmas, right around the corner here, y'all done shopping? Y'all done wrapping?
I don't think there's ever such thing as being done shopping. It just kind of keeps continuing on, and your nieces and nephews keep asking you for additional gifts, and one wants, you just kind of get what you can,
Yeah, but I mean, like the bulk, right? You got your wife, you got your daughter. I mean, I've got my wife and my youngest son, and my two older boys are flying up from Southern California, so I'm proud, man. It's today is the 13th. Oh, by the way, today's date, 12/13/14. Kind of cool.
We won't see this again for like another 31 years, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah. By the way, so that means we're recording well in advance of our release date, so yay, way to go us. Anyway, so at this point, I'm done. There's little things, as you're going through the store and you just go, oh, yeah, let me get this thing or that thing. But, dude, I did a lot of ordering online this year.
Did you really?
Yeah. I had stuff delivered to the house or to my office or whatever. And, it was really easy.
Yeah, but I'm still thinking of new ideas. It's just whatever you can get for the family and for the friends is what really matters. So I think it'll all be a surprise. Obviously, one of the big things that I think you all should consider is the Surface Pro 3. Definitely a good gift to get.
It's funny. I've been having family members, call me or email me and say, hey, do you get a discount on that Surface Pro 3? I'm like, yeah, we get a discount, but we can only buy so much stuff. We have an allotment per year that we can spend. So, yeah, sorry.
Yep. And the Stay Fit band is also another option. So if you're interested in getting a device that you can use to
the Microsoft Health Band, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I love mine. I've got one. We should talk about that. We should review that. Maybe not this episode, but the next one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Every time I go to get one, it seems to be out of stock. So I'm hoping one of these days when I go there, it'll be available and I'll get one. So I'm sure some of you have some too as well.
All right. So let's take care of a little business here. I wanted to bring everyone's attention to something that took me by surprise. We have an affiliate link with itpro.tv. And we've asked you guys multiple times to, sign up, use our offer code, and that'll help pay for our monthly expenses. I'm hoping, because we just pay for this stuff out of our own pockets. Because we don't sell anything. We're not, we're not out there consulting. We work for Microsoft, and that's it. Anyway, got in touch with itpro.tv, and they tell me that there have been over 100 signups using our offer code. That is awesome.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, you guys. That really makes a difference. We can upgrade our equipment a little bit. We can, pay for a year's worth of hosting and all that stuff that, we pay for monthly. So that's huge. Thank you very much. I really want to hear What do you think? How's it been going for you since you signed up? What have you taken? Have you passed any exams? Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, any of our social media channels, and let us know what's going on. Now, the bit of business is this. For about a year, we've had 40% off of their listed price with our offer code. And like all good things, that too must come to an end. So we've just dropped down. Now, it's really not that bad, 30% off. So still, whatever their list price is, as long as you keep your account active, 30% off. Now, if you're one of those 100 or so people that already created an account with that offer code, you're going to keep that 40% off for as long as you have the account. Anyway, all right, business out of the way, Christmas out of the way. Today's topic on, where are we? Episode number 22, I think.
Yeah, I stopped counting. The numbers are getting pretty high now.
Yeah. Feeling like a stud. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
All right, so I think today's topic, we're going to talk about Office 365, but specifically, Office 365 just released some built-in MDM capabilities, which is really awesome. And so we're going to go over some of those MDM capabilities. What do you think?
And to be just more precise, our theme has really been around BYOD and consumerization, and just hearing about what Office 365 is doing in terms of combining or adding on the MDM capability is such a big deal. It's almost like it's a piece of that pie that we were all waiting for to see how the MDM component could be utilized by Office 365 users.
Okay. Well, let's dig in, shall we?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you guys a quick update. I mean, I know I was out of Tech Ed Europe, and there was a huge conversation around MDM.
Oh man, just rub that salt in the wound. I was in Europe. Ooh.
Well, Europe is a nice place, but that wasn't the focus of the conversation. It was really around MDM.
Oh, okay, right.
And the important thing is that they had announced that MDM would be available within about 3 months. October, November, December. So 3 months. You should probably be seeing MDM as an option when you signed into your Office 365 tenant, where you can enable it as an organization. And it's just huge gains in terms of being able to secure and manage your corporate resources, being able to apply mobile device settings on your devices that are corporate managed, and even things like selective wipe of your Office 365 data, or just preserving your Office 365 experience itself, when you move from one device to another.
Hey,
huge gains.
That does sound pretty big, but it just occurred to me, we keep saying MDM, and just in case you're not aware of that acronym, it's mobile device management.
Yep. Mobile device management. Nothing. It's not a new area. It's just an add-on, and really I would call it almost even a sister component of what we consider Windows Intune.
Yeah. So the Microsoft Intune has a whole host of things. I guess we'll probably do a comparison, but you get a subset of those things now without having to subscribe to Intune right inside of Office 365, right?
Yep, exactly.
Now I'm sure since Microsoft included these things and they're not charging anything extra, it must only manage Windows devices.
Well, that's a really good one. Actually, the truth is there are a lot of features that are enlightened within the Android and iOS platform itself that allow you to do things like selective wipe, do things like containerization within your devices, and not necessarily containerization, but the ability to segregate your corporate data from your personal data and use those devices, all built into the MDM solution.
Wow, man. So Apple devices, Android devices, Windows devices, all included?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, the idea isn't so much that it's about Windows devices. This is around any device that you use, any device. So we know that the market has quite a bit of Android and iOS. So if you're using those devices today, you can take advantage of the MDM capabilities built into Office 365, right? The key the key difference here is that your device now can be utilized as a personal device. You still have access to the programs you need access to. Plus, you can actually have your corporate applications installed there. And depending on the types of policies that are installed on your device, you have certain abilities to either transfer information from one application to another, or it might be limited based on your policies within your organization.
So why is this so important? I mean, we have a statistic that says 93% of employees admit to violating information security policies. That I always, when I talk to customers, I talk about this a lot, and I think really what it stems from is employees just want to be productive. For the most part, it's not something that they're doing to cause harm to the corporation. Maybe they email themselves a file to work on, over the weekend or at night or something like that. It's not really out of malice or malintent.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, I know many of you guys out there have heard of the term yin and yang, kind of like, Frank and Alfred. The idea is the corporate.
I thought it was ebony and ivory. Come on, man.
It's all yin and yang, baby. All yin and yang. You have two different forces working against each other. You have your corporate enterprise admins who are looking to, what they really want to do is manage the corporate data. They want to make sure they're protecting that information that's, makes that company profitable, whether it be sensitive email information, or whether it be, assets or, corporate application assets that are being, sent to personal devices. They want to protect that.
Well, but they also, the flip side of that, they want to protect it, but they also want to enable their employees to work where they need to, right? Even if it is a corporate device, even if it doesn't have to be bring your own device or your own personal device, it could be your corporate issue device. They want to be able to let their employees work, when they need to, where they need to, but do it securely.
And yes, they want to, but that is actually what the consumers want. And so that kind of fulfills that yin and yang scenario where the consumers are saying, why can't I use any device, any form factor to get access to the data that I'm privileged to having access to?
Yeah.
And this whole movement around MDM, mobile device management, Windows Intune, is all about allowing that flexibility to occur in a secure manner.
All right. So let's do some digging. Let's dig into what these new features are and what we can do with them. Now, I know there was some kind of stuff that we had before that we could, kind of manage devices through Office 365. What was that?
Oh, well, I think you guys are probably fairly familiar with ActiveSync. So ActiveSync was what we had before in Exchange. Basically allowed you to use that to receive access to your actual mail on your Exchange server. So if you were an Office 365 user, you would have access to Exchange ActiveSync, and you're able to use your device to access your mail using whatever protocol was available for mail. And it worked great. Mobile device manager, you could have access to your mail, you could have access to applications that you needed access to, but it wasn't enough.
Well,
it wasn't enough.
I think ActiveSync came out with Exchange 2003, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time ago, right? That's, we're talking over 10 years ago. So it's been doing, it's been a good little workhorse for quite some time now, but the device proliferation has taken hold, and devices are vast and different, and it was time.
Well, and ActiveSync is still fairly used. I mean, it's really there to secure the device and secure the communication between your Exchange server and the devices that are using. So just your basic idea around secure mobile email. And it's not going anywhere soon. It's just now we need a better way, a much more enriched way of managing devices, and that's where MDM comes into play.
Okay.
Right. It adds on top of what you have in terms of managing those devices. So basically, the way it works is in the admin portal, you can click the button, you can get Device Manager for Office 365. And it basically tells you what other services you have. And, that's basically what I was saying. Within a short period of time, you'll be able to see that option where you can actually enable mobile device management in your Office 365 tenant. And you'll be able to have access to that information.
Okay, so you said the admin portal. In the admin portal, are you talking about the Office 365 admin portal?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not a new console. It's not a new admin portal I have to deal with. It's all integrated in the familiar Office 365 admin portal.
Right. We talk about being able to enlighten features. So if you went to log into microsoftonline.com, that would be, what I would consider your traditional portal to access information. And then from there, you'd be able to go into the admin portal and see those options as an admin to enable that.
All right. So do I have to configure each individual person one by one?
Nope, you'll be able to set it up for your organization, and what happens is that individual, when they go to access information, so it works as an on an as-need basis. But yes, you set it as a policy within your infrastructure and set those policies the way you want them to happen. But when that user goes to access information, company portal information, it will then realize either that device has not been enrolled in Windows Azure Active Directory, and it'll send you an email which will basically say this device needs to be enrolled before you can have access to that corporate data. And from that point, basically what happens is it takes that information and registers it possibly with a grid or some identifier of that device in that Windows Azure Active Directory. For most of you that don't know, Windows Azure Active Directory is the backbone of Office 365, is the backbone of Windows Intune. It's basically your Active Directory lookup for any user object or device object within that cloud Active Directory setting. And once that device is registered, it will then trigger it to see that device as a sanctioned location where information can be delivered. And it's being managed now as a mobile device within Office 365. It can send policies to that device, and you can control it. You can do anything from providing some level of control on that device. Now there are some limitations because some of the things that it looks for are things like, is that device password protected? Does it have device encryption? And is the device jailbroken? And some of those things are going to prevent you from actually enrolling that device into the MDM solution or in the MDM tenant. So it will warn you prior to actually registering that device. And that's the compliance configuration built into the mobile MDM for Office 365.
Wow, so I can measure the compliance of devices against what they're actually supposed to be as to what they are just by setting a policy.
Even before allowing them access to the infrastructure. That is correct.
Wow, man, now that is great.
Even more so, you have the ability to continuously monitor it. So if at any point in time someone decides to jailbreak that device, for example, they ultimately would get scanned at one point and realize that device is no longer compliant with the policies and will prevent them from having access to the data. So these are little things that you'll have to kind of take into account and make sure your end users are aware of.
All right. So right off the bat, conditional access built right in Office 365 with the new MDM. So that's cool. What else do we get? Do we get new controls?
So new controls and new policies.
Well, yeah, I mean, new ways to set policies, new ways to administer, like, for example, I think I heard that you can use PowerShell to...
Oh, yes. You can use PowerShell to actually administer the enablement of those devices. So that's the other, options. You can set policies through PowerShell. You can actually set policies, device policies by group. So if there's a specific department that you want to control the type of access or resource access they have to certain applications, you can set that at the group level through group policy settings within device management.
All right, so let's do a little feature comparison here. We have Exchange Active Sync, we have MDM in Office 365, and then we have Microsoft Intune. So obviously Intune is the most feature-rich. MDM has quite a few features in Office 365, but not as many. And then Exchange Active Sync, of course, still the trooper, still the workhorse in the back end there. It has the least amount of MDM capabilities, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so just to be clear, some of the things that you don't that Intune will provide you once because again, you have to think of it as sort of a graduational level
Hmm.
when as you get sort of used to managing devices, you become a bit more interested in understanding how to manage them. So with the add-on of Intune, you get additional components like secure content viewers. You can actually control what content is viewed by those end users, or even just for local PC, you have PC application manager. You can actually manage those applications on the PC much more in detail, and provisioning certificates and VPN. All of those things you can actually do with Windows Intune, which is really cool. Now, MDM is only limited, but it also, like you mentioned before, you'll be able to add root cert. You'll be able to check for devices that have been jailbroken, and you'll be able to do things like remove apps from the device whenever the user leaves the company, which is also a big deal. That's again not necessarily removing the personal data, but your corporate applications that no longer are necessary when that user separates from the organization.
One thing that I really like, there's lots of new things that have come into play with the new Office 365 MDM capabilities. But I think my favorite one, and the one I've been asked so many times from my customers, how can I prevent users, if I enable Active Sync, pretty much anyone can sign up. You just go in, you sign up, there's no approval, just bang, I'm in. Now you have the ability to prevent access to the data, such as email and documents, until the device is managed. I know you kind of mentioned that earlier, but for me, there's lots of cool features, but that's probably the best one. Customers are always asking for that.
I think that's the one that distinguishes the MDM for Office 365 as opposed to not having any management solution. And, again, obviously, for those of you that are in Intune, already have this capability, understand how it works. But for most of those people that initially purchased the MDM licensing, they didn't have a chance to see what this feature does. And having that control over those devices, understanding that you are now better prepared to protect the data before it gets leaked. A good example, if anyone has been following the media, one of the things that we noticed is that there was a Sony, somebody up really high in Sony that their data gets hacked, and part of it is because we need to work on making sure our data is secure, and so that people can actually see that message that's being sent back and forth. I'm not saying that, any data should be sent back and forth that's just, random, but this gives you that level of protection, knowing that information that you're sending back and forth is protected.
Well, that it's funny that you mentioned that. I was just having a conversation this past week about that. And if you're using like Azure RMS, or even on-prem RMS, those documents themselves are encrypted. So even if a hacker were able to get a hold of all those documents that say passwords, they'd have to be able to unlock those or unencrypt those documents to be able to read them. Had they used encryption, they wouldn't be in this mess.
Absolutely. So again, these devices are checked for encryption to ensure that they're enabled for encryption prior to having them enrolled within the MDM solution provided by Office 365.
Sweet.
So let me
go ahead
really quick. I'll walk you just so that everyone's aware of what it happens in the back end, because a lot of times we go over the high level stuff, but we really don't talk about the details of the back end. And for those of you admins out here, here's a quick high level. So the IT admin goes into Office 365 device policies, and basically this triggers an update to Intune and Azure AD, basically saying that when the user authenticates to a corporate app, it'll get enrolled. It'll basically enroll the device and update the record in Azure AD, like I mentioned earlier. Now, the device is now registered in Azure AD and enrolled into Intune. And you can use that device to access other features in Azure AD. And basically, where that information will sit is within the ADOL, or Active Directory library, where it knows that device is part of that infrastructure and can be leveraged for any policies later on. I know I mentioned it earlier, but that gives you a better understanding of how that process works.
Okay. So what happens if the conditional access control, once it checks the device, and it doesn't meet the access requirements or the compliance policy? Is there anything that happens, or it just sits there? I mean, what?
Yeah. I mean, let's use OneDrive for example. And I've seen this discussed before, but the OneDrive app is basically a personal. If you're using that on a personal device, let's say you have your iOS device or any other device. Basically, you are when you go to download the OneDrive app and you're trying to access information there, you are first asked to, and this is the OneDrive for Business. You're asked to enroll the device because basically it sees that you don't have that device logged in and you're using that account that is your Office 365 account, and so that device will not download that application until you have it enrolled. And so you'll either get an email. You'll get an email, and that email basically steps you through the process of enrolling your device. And at that point, the application, if OneDrive for Business, would now be enabled, and you can access that application once that device is enrolled. But again, remember, as you're enrolling it, it will check to see if it meets those requirements before it actually allows you to enroll it.
You know what? So Microsoft uses that, and I wiped my my Windows phone the other day, completely blew it out, went back to factory, and started loading again. So when I did that, of course, my device was no longer enrolled, technically, right? Because I didn't have the certificate anymore. So Microsoft is using multi-factor authentication. I thought it was so cool. I had to actually enroll in the MFA, so I did. And then it gives me a call. I have to set a PIN. And as I was enrolling for Workplace Join on my phone, it gave me a call. It said, please, enter your PIN. I entered my PIN, and bang, it went right through the process. And I did I logged in with my credentials on the site first. Then it called me. It was really easy. I just, put my PIN, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to take advantage of multi-factor authentication. That was the other big thing. Now, I'll mention again with Intune, you get a few other details, which is really cool. But once you get into MDM and you understand how it works, it gets you interested in seeing what Intune can actually provide, like being able to roll out line of business applications, or you can also pin protect each application, and you can pin lock the apps that have the corporate data. You can also manage what can be shared within the corporate applications itself. And these are all huge features that you start seeing, or at least are able to take advantage of as you move towards the MDM solution.
All right. So this is, if I'm thinking about this, who cares about this update? Really, it's IT pros, right? They're going to care because they have more control, and they can be more flexible with what the users can do and can't do. And then also, I think the IT decision makers will look at this and also think it's enabling their business from a service provider perspective, right? So we've really tacked in a lot of new things and truly focused on some needs and some feedback from IT. So good job to the Office 365 team and the Intune team, and way to go, Microsoft, for bolting on those new things.
You mentioned who cares. Device reporting is also a huge part of this change, and the fact that now I could provide a report and know if I had an organization that had over 50,000 devices, I know exactly who has these devices and what policies are on them. It provides the corporation more insight into their environment and what information or data may be maybe is currently being used out there in the corporate America.
All right, cool. Well, that was a really good update. I am looking forward to just playing with my test tenant to see the difference between Intune and the new Office 365 MDM features. Now that I'm a sales guy, I don't really get to do a whole lot of technical work like you do, Alfred. So
yeah.
Makes me sad.
Well, the good news for you, Mr. Sales guy, everything added is free with the Office 365 licensing.
Awesome.
It's all completely integrated.
Yeah, no upgrade fee or charges or anything. No. So I love Microsoft for doing that. Thank you very much. Well, Alfred, as we wrap up the episode, This is the last episode that's going to happen before Christmas, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to wish you and all our listeners and everyone that joins in a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. Is it Happy Kwanzaa?
And Festivus too.
Oh, and Festivus. Thank you. Yeah, almost forgot one.
Happy Festivus.
Happy Festivus. Well, thank you for joining. It was good information. I'm excited to go check it out myself. And I have one more ask for our listeners. We're working really hard to bump our ratings in iTunes, and the best way to do that is if we get our listeners to go to iTunes and give us a rating. Would love some positive feedback. Of course, if you think the show sucks and Alfred doesn't know what he's talking about, then go ahead and leave that too.
I like that option.
but please, go ahead, go into iTunes, give us a quick rating, and I'd really appreciate that. So happy holidays, everyone. There will be an episode that will be released in between Christmas and New Year's, and that will be the last one of the year. And then we'll move into 2015. Thanks very much for joining, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye, guys.
That wraps up another amazing episode of The Device Pros. We appreciate you tuning in and participating. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another incredible episode helping the technology community one podcast at a time. We want to hear from you, our loyal members, so please reach out on our website, thedevicepros.com, or The Device Pros on Twitter and Facebook. For now, be good to your technology, and remember, the NSA is watching. See ya! While we work at Microsoft, this podcast is independent of Microsoft and implies no warranty or guarantee of the products or services. We will not be sharing anything confidential, and we do not represent the opinion of Microsoft in any way. We are just two passionate guys that love what we do implementing Microsoft devices and services.